Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're unlocking one of the absolute superpowers of modern backend engineering. But before we get into the tech, let's set the stage with a high-stakes, total nightmare scenario for literally anyone running a live production system.
Picture this. It's Black Friday. You're running a massive global e-commerce platform. Everyone is furiously refreshing product pages, hunting for deals, and mashing that Add to Cart button at the exact same fraction of a second.
And then, boom! You were slammed with over 1 million requests instantly. Your main database, which is physically trying to read and write all this data to its hard drives, just completely overloads. Latency spikes off the charts, the whole system crashes, orders fail, and your company is suddenly bleeding massive amounts of revenue every single minute.
So here's the million-dollar question. How do massive tech giants like Amazon or Netflix prevent this exact catastrophe? I mean, how are they serving global traffic instantly, with zero lag, without just melting their databases into slag? Well, the answer lies in a foundational piece of cloud-native architecture.
Okay, let's look at the agenda for this explainer. First, we'll enter the distributed cache. Then, we'll look at cache workflows, followed by the tech stack. After that, we'll dive into the complexity and pitfalls, and we'll wrap up with interview and system design prep. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Enter the distributed cache, the ultimate scalability superpower.
So what actually is a cache? Fundamentally, it's temporary, ultra-fast memory. It literally intercepts user requests before they ever have a chance to hit your overburdened, expensive database. Because a cache stores data in RAM, memory, instead of on a slow physical disk, retrieving that data takes just a few milliseconds. It is lightning fast.
To put this in perspective, think of your database as the massive main backroom of a huge library. Sure, it holds millions of books, but walking all the way back there, finding the right shelf, pulling the book, well, it takes significant time. The cache? That's the front desk, holding all of today's absolute bestsellers. People walk in, grab what they want instantly, and the librarian never even has to check the back room.
But here's where system design gets really fun. When that single front desk gets completely swamped by global traffic, one server just isn't going to cut it. We have to scale out horizontally. So a distributed cache takes all that data and spreads it across multiple servers, or nodes. That way, if one node goes down, the others just step right in, giving us massive performance, reliability, and fault tolerance.
Section 2. Cache workflows. Let's look at the anatomy of hits and misses.
Now, in a perfect world, what we call a cache hit in the industry, the workflow is beautifully simple. Step 1, the user requests product info. Step 2, your application checks the distributed cache instead of the database. Step 3, the data is sitting right there in memory. Boom. It's a hit. The data returns instantly in milliseconds, and the database didn't even know the user was there.
But what if the data isn't there?
Well, that's a cache miss. The application checks the cache, comes up empty, and has to fall back to that slower database to fetch the data. But here is the crucial part. Before returning the data to the user, the app stores a copy of it back into the cache. That means the very next person who asks for that exact same product is going to get a lightning-fast cache hit.
Section 3. The tech stack. We're talking Redis, Memcached, and Hazelcast.
Let's compare the heavy hitters. Redis is absolutely the powerhouse here. It offers blazing fast in-memory storage, but it also handles complex data structures and pub-sub messaging, making it the ultimate go-to for highly scalable backend systems. Then you've got Memcached. This is your highly efficient, super lightweight option, perfect for simple query caching and session storage. And finally, Hazelcast, which brings heavy distributed computation capabilities to the table, making it a favorite for massive enterprise systems.
Section 4. Complexity and pitfalls. Eviction, invalidation, and stampedes.
There's a famous engineering quote that goes, "There are only two hard things in computer science: cache invalidation and naming things." And it's so true. Keeping your cache perfectly in sync with your database is notoriously difficult. When the underlying data in your DB changes, the old entries sitting in your cache instantly become stale. Figuring out exactly when and how to safely update or delete that stale data, well, that's cache invalidation, and it's a massive headache.
On top of that, memory is expensive, so you just can't cache everything forever. Systems have to use eviction policies. You might use LRU, which kicks out the least recently used items to make room for new ones, or LFU, which removes the least frequently used items. Another super common strategy is TTL, or time to live.
This is where data gets a strict countdown timer and just automatically expires when the clock runs out.
But you've got to watch out because TTL introduces a genuinely terrifying edge case. Imagine a highly popular item's TTL expires right in the middle of a massive traffic spike. Suddenly, the cache is empty for that item. In that exact millisecond, thousands of requests bypass the cache and hit your database all at once. This triggers a dangerous, system-crushing event known as a cache stampede. Seriously, it can take your entire platform offline in the blink of an eye.
To prevent this kind of catastrophic outage, production systems rely on really smart engineering. You definitely can't just cross your fingers here. Engineers use locking mechanisms, meaning only one single request is allowed to go to the database for the new data while everyone else waits. Or they use background refreshers to proactively update the cache before the TTL actually hits zero. That keeps the cache warm and keeps your database completely safe.
Section 5. Interview and System Design Prep. Architecting for Success.
If you're heading into a system design interview, they don't just want to hear you say, "Oh, I'll add a cache." Beginners cache everything blindly. To show real production engineering maturity, you need to discuss the hard trade-offs. You should be able to intelligently compare Redis versus memcached. You need to talk about write strategies, like cache aside versus write through. And you absolutely have to anticipate failure scenarios, like the cache stampede, explaining exactly how you'd build fault tolerance right into your replicated nodes. Following these best practices is how you actually prove you can build at global scale. Step 1, only cache your frequently accessed hot data. Step 2, use those TTLs, but use them carefully so you don't serve stale data. Step 3, get serious about observability. You need to actively monitor your cache hit ratios and latency graphs in real time. And step 4, always design for failure. In a distributed system, nodes are inevitably going to fail. It's just a fact. Understanding the deep mechanics of distributed caching is what makes you a highly effective backend engineer. Literally, it is the difference between a system that crumbles under pressure and one that scales beautifully. So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. When the traffic spikes and the pressure is completely on, how will you architect your next system to handle absolute massive scale? If you found this explainer valuable for your engineering journey and you want to keep mastering these cloud-native concepts, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with your peers who are prepping for those brutal system design interviews. Keep building, keep scaling, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.